going back, not gonna buy into all that. Hey, hey, ain't gonna hide, gonna let all the fears slide. Got mother nature, it's on my side. Got all of the loving growing inside.
Hello everyone, welcome again to the New Now. I'm very delighted today to have as our guest Harald Kautz. Some of you may know him from some of the explorations he's done over the years. I'm not going to say, I'll allow him to tell you in his own words, what he's done. Some very esoteric and deep diving into what's going on the planet, why it's going on, where we are, what the challenges could be with humanity, and where we could be going. Welcome, Harald, to the New Now. How are you tonight? Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I know it's late for you over there.
I'm basically fine, still struggling a bit with the disease, all sorts of it, but always looking at it from the healing side, from the spiritual growth side. So you can take a ruptured spleen with a laughing eye as well.
Of course. I think, I guess the energy on the planet these days is bringing us all into a mode of being challenged in one way or the other. Whether it's physical or financial or structural, as in our ability to travel and to make the kind of lives that we would like to live. On a personal level, like I'm delighted to hear that you're coming along with the challenges. And how are you finding your life these days? Let's say in relation to some of the studies you've done as to what's going on the planet, why it's going on the way that it's going. I'm going to leave many links below after the chat for our readers that they can do some studies into the past of what Harald's done and what he's shown in some of the videos. He's got more than I can talk about here. And it will allow you, as you're interested in, our dear viewers, to get a bit of a background on what he has uncovered, in relation to the world. I'll let him say in his words. Maybe you can give us a bit of background, as to some of the studies you've done, why you've done them, and how that's helping or hindering your life in relation to how you would like to be alive in these days.
Okay, I'll try to cut that as short as possible. If you put a lot of topics to describe where I've been, I started with free energy, climate healing according to Wilhelm Reich, and from there discovering that there's something going on in the sky called chemtrails, understanding humanism, from there understanding the black magic tradition we all come from, kind of. From there diving deep into bioenergetics and spiritual concept of actually what duality is and how the consciousness realm we live in is constructed, how we are originally constructed if we take away this aspect of living duality, because this is not our natural state, it's just a phase we go through. And from there, this is kind of my latest focus, approach, core topic, to do everything to come back to that natural state of unity consciousness, growing completely out of duality business. And from there, what I can say is life, the universe actually taking this approach of mine quite seriously, decided to go into a state of tolerance for not taking the quickest route. So it's like on all levels, it's all in, show me your cards now. Mm-hmm. This is the time quality I perceive. I've been working on things where I had the feeling, I can do that whenever the conditions are better, whenever the universe is giving me the funding or possibilities or connections to do it. At the moment, everything is rushing in, everything is happening at the same time. And the only thing I do is almost dying from a ruptured spleen, because also the emotional level is clearing out, and the last bastions of disconnected trauma, of unhealed parts of myself, get their asses kicked and go into healing. And it's on the limit of what the physical called body can take. But it's all good, it's all on the way. And as I said, you can take those things with a laughing eye as well.
What do you mean by tolerance of the challenges going on these days? Maybe you can expand on that for our viewers.
I have the feeling things express themselves in a more and more holistic way.
Right.
So things like if you want to start a business and there's something wrong in your relationship, it's not possible anymore to start a business without fixing the relationship first. Because any bug in your spiritual setup that was something you lived with a year or two ago. You had hundreds of bugs and they were all sitting somewhere in your neck and in between your fingers, and they were bugging you, but you took them one by one, you took your time and you made your life while taking care of that. And at the moment it's like okay, you've come that far. Now we are talking Tachlis. Now things are going to happen quick and fast, and you need to be sure that you are there and heal on all levels. So everything is, the time of life is not for this. It's something, and life is on me fixing it. And that has been quite a lot over the last month. It's as if we are approaching like plot points in human history where decisions need to be made in the right spirit. Mm-hmm. So spirits reset themselves to their default healthy condition to be able to make the right decision in the point of the timeline where they need to be made. This is how it feels like. I can't tell you how far these points and timelines are away at the moment, but this is the internal part, and at the same time you can observe the external world, and it looks quite like a beautiful, precise reflection of those inner processes. We have only this tiny, it's more like a glimpse of corporate media control covering the real story happening. Corporate media is the only thing they still have got to keep up their delusion. And they're holding on to it with the last bits and pieces of forces. And when this tears apart, which is going to happen soon, this is tangible, then realities will become visible under that. And this is a quite interesting moment if you feel into this, because I'm not the one who is perceiving his life as action-reaction patterns. For me, reality is created by perception. And the reality that is going to be uncovered under this layer of corporate lies can be everything. This reality is not defined yet because it has not been yet.
Hasn't it been what yet? I missed that last word.
It hasn't been perceived yet. Reality is created by perception. And because we haven't looked under the curtain and behind the curtain into the deepest holes of the rabbit holes, we don't know what we find there, and therefore it's not defined yet. And with this also, our past is not defined yet. This is how higher dimensional physics create timelines. It's not always the same past we are sitting on. It depends on who we are, what we discover as our past. And as we know from Mandela effect, the past can change in between because we are sitting on a converging and diverging set of timelines that only unites in the now. So we have hundreds of possible futures that evolve out of hundreds of given pasts, and the one we are on depends on our perception and our changing perception now. So, what under the idea is covered by, and this is quite a crucial moment.
Yes. I mean, is that what you mean by the bugs on the body, dealing your own energetic challenges that happen to be sitting with you, in your now, in relation to what you'd like to make of your present time?
Yes. At the moment, for example, we can talk with what's really there, because this is the strongest expression I can give in the moment. At the moment, I'm trying to deal with covert narcissism and people pleaser codependencies. This is a personal thing. I experience these patterns in my life. People who know me that I kind of identify with a people pleaser, with all the drawbacks and stupidities the pattern has internalized. And I kept on colliding with narcissists who tried to abuse me. And this was kind of default structure for years, that I had these relationships in my life. And now I need to come clear. And for the last 48 hours, I've been writing a paper, basically analyzing all the personal experience, comparing it to the clinical, comparing it to healing methods coming from the more shamanic traditions, to find out what actually can be found in this structure. Because I know when I heal my codependent structures that relate myself to narcissists, I know all the power play on this planet, all the shadow.
Okay, we've lost you for a moment here, Harald. So maybe we can go back a minute, because you were sharing some very interesting perspectives on what's going on. Can you hear me all right?
Lost. Okay.
We lost you for the last
I know that I have those last. Yeah, I'll make the last minute. I'm knowing that I personally, in my personal life, have those codependent relationships with narcissism in me, in an unhealed state. As long as I stay in this unhealed state, I can only expect the universe to express itself in similar patterns. And those you find between the dark cabal, the deep state, and the people-pleasing citizens that obey and follow the rules and try to please all those money-hungry power people. And as long as I don't heal the condition in me, whatever is revealed when things change will reflect that back on me.
Right.
So, of course, I want, when things unravel and develop, I want to live in a world where everybody is in 100% self-responsibility, stopped playing drama triangle interaction games. There are no victims, there are no perpetrators, there are no saviors anymore, and everybody is just singing, dancing, and taking care of this beautiful planet. This is what I want to see unfolding, as the next step. But I can only expect that if I take the necessary healing steps within myself. And because I feel this tremendous pressure of things pushing itself through my personal development into reality, I have the feeling, okay, something is happening quite soon. Like plot point.
I mean, on a personal level, something's coming, or on a macro level?
On the macro level. I feel I am subject to the personal level, but by experiencing the intensity and the urgency of things, I know that we are preparing for things on the macro level.
Very interesting. I mean, I'm of a similar notion that if you want to, go play in a land of plenty, you have to make yourself susceptible and ready to become a partner in, co-creating or creating the kind of life you would like to live. And I think Harald is really facing something, through his spleen, and I've had my physical challenges, and I've talked with many others that have had them as well. And what a lot of people run away from is the pain you have to face on an internal level to make yourself ready to allow the extra energy to come down and show you what's possible, in your life and what you can do. And of course, if you're sick, whether it's energetically, physically, emotionally, take your pick, you're not really allowing the best of yourself to come out, and thus to co-create in the possibilities. I think that the curtain coming down, if you want to look at it that way, as Harald mentioned, that the corporate media, more people seeing through the garbage that's gone on and the lies. Every day I talk to new people that have opened their eyes more, because a lot of them have no choice. That would be my opinion. And you're going to have to really be asleep to not notice, that a lot of the governments don't have your best interests at hand, and a lot of the corporate stuff is obvious, BS, for lack of a better way to put it. And no matter what they say, they're not trying to help you. It's obvious you're being hindered if you follow through with the narrative of the day that's coming through with TVs and what have you. So, I appreciate what you're sharing that with us here, Harold. It's really nice to see like someone who's done, a look at what's going on, the alternative, the monsters on the planet, let's say the parasites, you've studied the black goo, as you said, which has come up, I'm sure, in probably almost all of your talks. The spider monsters that are around, you can look at you can call them reptiles, you can call them fifth dimensional parasites, which I guess is how I view things. But the bottom line is once you make yourself sacrosanct, these, let's say, dark energies have less of an effect on you. Is that kind of what you're coming to as well?
What I sense is heading forward to these plot points of human history. It's like we are facing an event where we see splitting timelines. And this process of splitting timelines, it has a foreplay. In this foreplay on the astral realm, the astral realm is already splitting up. The astral is never in the now. The astral is kind of looking into the future, looking into the past. We couldn't be clairvoyant without that. So it's not defined in the now. So it has its strand developing into the future. And it already kind of, I have the feeling, it sorts itself according to spiritual qualities. We have like a third density astral realm, fourth density astral realm, the fifth density astral realms, and maybe even a separate sixth density astral realm developing slowly. And people still can shift from one density to another. If they develop, if they make their homework, if they spiritually grow, if they let go of dualistic concepts and stop perceiving the darkness because they are afraid of the darkness, then they can disconnect and they just jump into the next higher density on the astral. And when it comes to this real splitting of timelines that is in the prophecies, they will just go with the astral realm they ended up in. And it's not that it's at any time too late to shift, but apparently less and less and less and less people will shift because everybody ends up exactly where he's supposed to be over the years till that point comes. This is how I perceive this process. Still, in this position, I can freely decide. I can sit down, go into meditative state, and decide, I perceive fifth density. And then reality looks in a certain way. When I go down to the fourth density, I'm hit by this entire panic and fear of the corona victims. And I say, whoa, no, I'm not going to stay here for more than 3 seconds. This is fucking creepy. Sorry, I don't know where we broadcast. I'm allowed to swear or not.
I would agree.
And if you go to the sixth density, you can really experience unity consciousness, and everything you see out there is fine. You know, it's all good because it's all just the choices people have made, and you can't interfere with that. It's like their karmic pattern evolving, and they are exactly where they need to be. And if it's ugly at that point, it needs to be ugly, and they need just to be supported and being held in a passionate relationship with what they're going through. And then you can help and assist to overcome things. And it's all beautiful, whatever it is. It's 100% non-judgmental. And you can even go higher in density. I made it up to 9, which again was quite creepy, because it's no place where humans should be. It's like in 9, it's nothing matters because everything is in you. It's a complete godly perspective. We have nothing to do in. But it's possible to just decide to go onto that level. And between 8, this is this angelic arrogance you face, and so different qualities on different densities that really can be experienced in meditation. And the very interesting thing is when it comes to the choices we have, let's say between 4 and 6 at the moment, really the perception of reality and the tangible future of reality really are completely different things.
You mean on a personal?
Part of this planet might drown in a series of pandemics because people have decided to live in fear. It's creational. Fear is creational. You have the worst vision you can get and put yourself on the timeline that will accomplish exactly this. Vision is as creative as gratitude is. You know, if you need a parking space, you create yourself a parking space. We know this since this incredible book, Orders from the Universe, or whatever the English title is, came out. And you do it with gratitude. You say, thank you for the parking spot I will have when I arrive directly in front of my door. And you get it. It's reliable. And this is how it kind of works with fears as well. So this is something not to make them more scared. This is something people who buy into this fake agenda of fake pandemics should be aware that when they buy into this fear scenario, they create quite ugly things voluntarily.
Yeah, I think voluntarily is the key. You know, to notice that. I mean, that's the crux of the bad and the good rolled into one. In that you can make things horrible voluntarily. You can also make things amazing voluntarily. You know, as Harald was saying, by facing whatever bugs or problems, challenges, fears, whatever's crawling in your system or body or energetic field, you know, it's there because it can be faced, in my opinion. It's, you know, Harald's done tons of research over the years. We've come across so many others who have done, you know, deep dives and research over the years who've gone where most of us haven't, to bring back the kind of information that, in my opinion, will allow you to do your own work, to do your own research, to come to your own conclusions as to, you know, how to make the kind of life you would like to live in. You know, we all have challenges. You know, like Harald, what do you know energetically? What is the spleen supposedly for? Like on a physical level and on an astral level, have you done some studies in that direction?
The spleen, physically, it's cleaning your blood. It's sorting out all the infected parasitic red blood cells.
Okay.
And cleans the blood from neurotoxins. And the effect is, if the spleen is working properly, your brain is clear, crystal clear. You can think like a quantum computer. You can look. This was kind of the amazing. My spleen was partly paralyzed. It didn't work properly. I lost eyesight. And when it came back through this healing process, I remember a week ago, I was sitting in our guest room, staring at the dream catcher in the window. And I could see every single hair of every single feather from a distance of 4 meters and enjoy the beauty of all of them. Every single one was in my visual perception. And I remembered myself looking like this as a child, and then my sight got better because my processing capacities of the brain got worse. So I lost this high resolution sight, and it came back because suddenly my blood is cleaned again. On the spiritual level, the spleen is self-worth, self-confidence. And this is where it was connected to this people pleaser narcissism topic, that it's a lack of self-worth that makes you serve the wrong people, or people who just carry the other end of a heavy stick. Let's not call it wrong. It is what it is.
No, I found the same thing with it's really fascinating in all this work. As complicated as it gets, it almost gets down to a simple level of becoming childlike again, not childish, and remembering, your imagination. As I'm going through my own process, I'm seeing the way I used to see things when I was 4 and 5. Old memories are coming back. My ideas of what I wanted to be in life. I feel strongly, if you talk to someone who's 4 or 5, you're not going to get they want to grow up and be a lawyer, or they want to grow up and be a physicist. It's more of, you get an imaginative response from the children, if they're allowed to be free in the ways that they can take a stick in a puddle and go to other realities in their dream state. And as I'm talking with Harald, what I'm finding is very beautiful, and that, obviously I'm not 4 or 5 anymore, and neither is Harald and a lot of the people we talk to, but all the things I missed and dreamed about and wanted to share with other beings when I was growing up and I was little, before the monsters took hold and the schooling took hold, and the parasitical paradigm of fear took hold and kind of started beating you in a certain direction. It was this growth of beauty and imagination and wonder that I believe is a natural desire, for young boys and young girls and what they want to create. Especially, I would say, young boys that want to go on that adventure of seeing and creating and being in a beautiful way of understanding. I've had some psychedelic experiences where I've experienced what Harald has mentioned, in that, when I've done mushrooms or what have you, where you can see every flower petal, and you look at you see every bit of it, and then you see the winds moving together. And I've found that this, when I allow my consciousness to go back to where it was before I allowed it to get polluted in the various ways we've discussed in this topic already, that, you could see energy moving when you were little. You could see the beings talking to you. You could talk with trees and flowers and the animals and what have you in ways that are beyond language, and it's allowing. I find, a lot of people don't understand, in my opinion, what Eden could be about, if they want to call it Eden, whatever you want to call this new way of being. It's not that you are who you are and then suddenly you have more hamburgers to eat, or you're richer, or you have, you're more beautiful, or your wife is more beautiful, or you have 6 wives, or whatever. It's almost like you transform yourself, to become the being that can live in that sort of a reality, whether it's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th dimensions, through, Harald is kind enough to be here talking with us today, honestly sharing, a physical challenge that a lot of people might want to hide from and not, bring to the forefront. And he's honestly laying the challenges he's had in front of us. I was a people pleaser, I'm this and I'm that. Everyone has their not such nice ways they've developed about being to themselves and others in life, and it's by coming out, and sharing it honestly, as we're doing today, that you lead by example, and you get the opportunity to see it's not so bad to put your dirty laundry out there, and people aren't going to be. I think people will be more loving with you. That's what I want to say. And people like they're more accepting if you're going. This is how I've been challenged, and this is how I've been not so nice to myself and the people in my life. You don't get ostracized the way maybe your fear in your head is telling you. More, you get the support. You need to heal yourself. I think you will meet the loving people in your community, whether they're next door or halfway across the world, as I am with Harald right now. You'll get an opportunity to develop these friendships in a community that will support you in your growth.
This is actually exactly how healing happens when I reassemble my spirit from all the cracks and losses and trauma and whatever got damaged on the way. It's necessary to go back to the origins, or either it's finding the losses during this lifetime when ugly things happened in the childhood, to revisit those events and volunteer to feel through them again. And then you find like the 5-year-old child that got whatever. I don't want to go into details because there's still living people involved. And you just revisit it, and you face your lost, suppressed emotions. And then this little child appears in front of you in your soul garden as a vision, and he absorbs your love, and you can breathe him into your chest and reunite with the child that got lost. And this also works with previous lifetimes. If there's any crack in my spirit and I can't find the reason why it happened, mostly it's because it happened in former lifetimes. And then if the body is clean enough on the biochemical level, it's easy to just call those events in as well. And then you go like, okay, I remember what happened back then. And it's easy if it's a victim trauma. Those are kindergarten. Okay, you had something to digest that was not convenient. You face the emotion you found too heavy back then. You finally stand in it, stand strong, express it through your body, and then you integrate it. But when it comes to perpetrator trauma, it's much heavier than the victim trauma, because you need to deal with guilt. You need to deal with knowing what you've done to others. And then it's about balancing those medals, those karmic medals. Like in one lifetime we experience the victim, in the other lifetime we experience the perpetrator. And we can't put this coin that has those two sides back into our wallet unless we have seen both sides at the same time. And this is what these clearing processes are about. I remember one healing session with a lady that refused to feel. And it was so strong, anything. She was completely mental. And it was so strong in her that her body decided to develop a brain tumor that needed to be removed by surgery, and afterwards she could not suppress feeling anymore. And she was in dire straits because she couldn't take it. She was going nuts from all those emotions. This is the state I got to know her. And then it's a beautiful example because it's so simple. Just the question, what is it that you actually don't want to feel? And with this question asked in the right spirit, the pictures come, and they go, seeing your own baby slaughtered in front of your eyes, former lifetime. Going through that process, no healing, not accomplished. And then, okay, There must be something else. What did you not see yet? What is there else to be seen? And then she's dropped into, I don't know how many lifetimes where the story repeated itself. Baby born, slaughtered, baby born, slaughtered, baby born, slaughtered in front of her eyes. And she was screaming the windows out of that building, processing that pain. And then it was the last question, because still there was no healing in the room. She could not find peace. And then I said, and now you remember where you slaughtered the baby of a mother in front of her eyes. And I just dropped her into the memory. Because I knew, this strong metal that is so strong on one side, it needs to have another side. And all she did over all those lifetimes was just refusing to accept the kickback of karma. She got into the victim position and refused to process her emotion because she did not want to accept how it feels like, what she did to somebody else. And when she dropped into the perpetrator trauma, it was all amazement. It completely dissolved, and she started to laugh because suddenly she could be in compassion with all those perpetrators because she remembered how it feels like. And it felt human to do something like that. It's not a beautiful act. It's done in despair. It's done in confusion. It's done running on completely weird mental concepts. But it's a human experience to be dropped into a situation like that, like it was human in her case to be dropped there. And then she realized that for all those babies is what, you're just kicked out of your body and you reincarnate. So what? The babies didn't really suffer. It was all in her imagination. So she could see all those different aspects of the story and make her peace with it. And this is just a very strong example in a very high simplicity of one and the other side. But actually, all human experience is kind of built in a similar way. We make a decision to dive for experience, and this makes us lose ourselves. We can't experience separation when we don't damage ourselves. So we make the decision to do something stupid to bring us on a journey, and we completely lose it, trying to fix ourselves, but not by returning to the divine, just by applying mental concepts. And the more we think and the more we try, the worse it gets. To the lowest point where actually everything is worse than just returning and accepting the initial pain of separation. This is the memory we start our journey with. It's hidden deep inside. Disconnecting from the divine is the deepest possible pain. And everything we experience afterwards is just a tiny little fraction of that. And it's too much for us. So we get scared and dive away from this, doing more stupid stuff just not to experience this tiny little fraction, until we realize there's no way around turning back to the divine and going home. And when this desire wakes up, this is when love comes. So this is where the fear-based lives finish and the love-based lives start. And then we'll make this one decision: I want to return home. And by accepting this as an internal decision, we take on the entire pain of separation voluntarily. And after that, nothing can scare us. After that one decision, nothing can be worse than losing it again. And there we basically grab the power to take our steps to reassemble ourselves in voluntary healing. And everything else, the entire New Age, hullabaloo, I heal you, you heal her thing, it's all not working. Because it's not what we are here for. We are here for losing it and reassembling ourselves, because only this gives us the full experience we came here for.
Very well put. You know, I would say
It's simple. It's simple, but everyone has his own journey, and it's about discovering which journey is the one I'm on right now. If you don't look for that journey, you will find no structure in life.
It's everything that I've hoped in many ways. This conversation with Harald about what, you know, we've been publishing our newspaper for 11, 12 years, and you know, we've been doing so much online as well, and everything really, like I'm at a little loss for words myself, and I didn't have any idea how this conversation was going to go, but you know, I'm pleased to see it being brought down to a point, shall we say, of the transformation that most people ask for. You know, everyone wants to be healed, everyone wants to be happy, everyone wants to be healthy. And you know, if I'm allowed to paraphrase, you really have to see how you haven't been so nice in one way or many, whether it's this lifetime or 100 other lifetimes. And you know, as Harald put it, you know, and I've seen as well, once you take on the fact that you've done an action that hasn't been perceived as loving, well, the laughter does follow after that, because you know, the forgiveness comes in admitting how you've been not so nice, and then you get to see how you are, and then the whole system of tyranny and fears and you know, the corona garbage and all this other bullshit going on no longer has a hold on you, because you have a hold on yourself, you know, in your direction in life. And you know, and I think this is a beautiful story of the lady that, you know, a lot of people have asked us, well, what if I was, you know, raped in this life? I've seen it, or I was sexually assaulted, or you know, take your pick, or my father did this bad thing, my mother did this bad thing, my friends did this bad thing. I mean, I've heard hundreds of these stories, as I'm sure Harald has in his life, and you know, it's happening perhaps in relation to the story that was just shared here right now, so that you can see that you too have been that perpetrator. You know, you too have done that, whether it's not this life, it might be another life, and through the forgiveness. And I don't mean, you know, saying, oh, it's okay, but I'm better than them. It's kind of like saying, oh my goodness, you know, I am doing the same thing in my way, or have done it, or I'm still doing it. Maybe it's to yourself, maybe it's to others, maybe it's both. And, you know, I've had to sit and see how I've been an asshole to myself, for lack of a better way to put it, and not so nice to my friends, and, you know, and allow that to really hit me in order to get to a place of the strength that I've always wanted, that doesn't really come from being, you know, a gruff, mean, whatever man, or a pleasing woman, so to speak. I mean, we both have those aspects inside of us, you know, the male and female ways of doing things. And just by allowing that inner strength, or your metal to grow, that, you know, everything you've always wanted, but you didn't know how it could come to you, you make a space to allow that to grow, I would feel, you know, in being honest with, you know, and it could be past lives, it could be this life, it could be all of the above. But, you know, it's through this effort, I guess, like how did you bring the lady, I'm curious, to that level of understanding of what she saw in a previous life, of being not the victim, but also, you know, the perpetrator of, let's say, evil, if you like, or something not so nice?
It's two things mainly. Mainly, she brought herself, because she was desperate. She was at her lowest point. There was no attempt to avoid anything. She was 100% willing to go through everything, whatever it was. She didn't judge herself. She just wanted to go through that needle and experience relief. And that was her step of development at that point, and her decision, and nothing I did. The only thing where the people come into play is when I talk, my voice has a certain signature that signals what parts of myself are conscious, what parts of myself are connected in what ways. If, for example, if I wouldn't feel anger, if I would have a complete blockage on anger, then certain lower tones of my voice would not ring.
Right.
Then I would maybe rather sound like this with a very creepy, high-pitched voice, and everybody would try to beat me because they exactly know that I have no defenses up because my voice is so pop. Yeah, but if I speak differently, and every single quality of spirit has a certain expression on that level.
Right.
And this is how I can encode my state of wholeness, put it in my voice, and another body, another spirit can decode how it feels like to be healed. This is one step. It's only a small help. If I did go through the healing process in my lifetime, I also can express the signature of the healing process. And this is incredibly powerful. If you have the healing process encoded in your system, you can be compassionate about what's happening in the other. Like whatever, really creepy ways to work with each other. Somebody looking for whatever, stupid example, abuse memory. Showing all the signs of sexual abuse but can't remember what happened. Scanning her own memory, her own brain for what the heck happened. And I'm just in compassion because I have no blockage on that topic anymore, because I unraveled my abused history, and my abuse history and my entire spirit is open on that topic. I can compassionately feel every single motion in her system, consciously and subconsciously. So I can see how close she gets to the point where she can open herself up to her memory. I can feel everything. And when I see that she's getting close to the point where a solution can be possible, I just say something stupid like, "There's the door." 5 seconds before she even sees it, but by saying it, I can point out exactly the path in her perception of herself that leads her into that portal that opens up the memory to what she needs to see inside of herself. And this is, I don't think you can learn it somewhere. It's a practice that comes first from the self-healing that is done. So you can only be as compassionate as conscious you are. This is one thing. So you can't heal somebody from a condition you haven't solved yourself. Because you can't feel it. It's in the customer's subconscious, it's in your subconscious. And they don't communicate. Especially they can't communicate a solution because it's not given yet. But if the solution is there and it's all conscious, then it's easy to inspire people to find the right healing path, if they are at the point that they are willing to go there. And then it's miraculous, but it's trivial, close to trivial, easy, it just happens. I remember a lady that knew how it works. She actually wanted to torture me with questions after a lecture. And then she just sat down in the hidden corner of that lecturing room, turned her face to the wall, asked herself all the questions she had, and let the answers come in. Afterwards, she came to me and said, "Well, I came with questions, but I decided to just embed myself in your aura, ask myself the questions, and the answers came. And I kept sitting there for 1.5 hours, crying all the time. And thank you, it helped. I didn't do anything. It's the power of inspiration, and this is what gives me this. It's not even hope, it's knowing that humanity will be all right, because this is a bushfire. inspiration is a bushfire. When this starts to burn, people inspire each other to healing in a speed we can't even imagine. We don't have a historic memory. Maybe the last time it happened is when Christianity spread over 3 continents, burning itself into Africa, burning itself into Asia, burning itself into Europe, because somebody just grabbed that idea that we do have a loving God and not a punishing one. And this was tangible, and it popped from one to the next by inspiration. Seeing it, passing on this ability of perception. And they couldn't kill the Christians fast enough to contain that. So they had to declare the Catholic Church to be state religion, to get access to something where they could reinsert her black magic control system to somehow contain this inspirational pattern. And we are very close to experiencing something like that again.
I would agree. I think, the monsters that be, are doing so much to try and steer humanity away from that, this whole, corona scamdemic garbage, that it must be, I think it's the old thing, I think doth thou protest too much, as I think Shakespeare said, or even if it was him who did that quote. And, the fact that they're fighting so hard to move humanity in a certain direction probably means they're moving in another direction, or we're at that time where we're about to allow ourselves to move in this other direction, because there's so much of an effort to corral the people and their consciousness and their fears and their way to be alive in a way that they wouldn't be putting this much effort into it if it wasn't required, right? And so to see the other side of the coin, as Harald said, if you see where they're pushing, and then you get to see what they're pushing against, it's the negative of the positive. And a lot of people are waking up to it. Like I'm talking with Harald, I talked with another fellow today who's an educator in the States, alternative university educator, and so many other people that are just going, that's enough. I've been looking at this, and I've been seeing this, and I've been noticing this, and now other people, smaller people, so to speak, or normal people, or people that have decided they don't want to hide the trauma anymore. Maybe it's come to a point where it's untenable, to sit in your lie and your illusions. And then we get to see people like Harald and other people I've chatted with that are going, it's not so bad. You face it. Maybe you have a physical ailment. I've had a foot problem. I've had to sit down for the last couple of months and understand what was going on. Like, why did I suddenly get a pain on my foot and it was hard to walk? And I got to see in my own experience, I was walking away from myself. I was spending my time just walking outside, let's say, instead of walking inside, and to see where I needed to, walk in my own inner world and figure out where I have been, as Harald said, traumatic to myself and others, and it's been working, and Harald had his spleen challenges, and maybe that gave him the ability to have to go into his own inner world more and to look and see what was going on, inside him, so that he can bring it out and share. I've been trying to talk with Harald for literally a few years now. We've been in touch a little bit here and there, and everything in its right time. And, now with what we have we're developing our online community to, I guess the bottom line, to walk in the ways that we've been discussing in this chat here, feeling how to heal yourself and what's required from that. And, something I've shared for a long time is the resources are there. Information like what Harald is sharing is there. There's nothing but help if you want it. There's nothing but information on how others have done it and how it's possible for you to do it for yourself, which is required. In my opinion, no one can move you there. There are no such things as healers or saviors for you. You walked your life to where you are, so you kind of got to walk it back to how you would like to be.
There's one thing that is good to know, because many people think we are in a battle between good and evil. And if we think that this is a battle, it is a battle, and one will win. If we change our perspective and take it as an experience instead of a battle, we come into a win-win situation. And this works in a certain way when I get attacked, and I did get attacked quite a few times over the last years, and I realize, oops, this attack goes through. It's an opportunity for me to learn something about a weakness of mine. Like, for example, with a ruptured spleen, I had a friend over, and he was more like that party guy for a couple of years and had all his party friends on those and other drugs, and he kept bringing his friends here for spiritual experience and healing and whatever. And one of them had quite a traumatic history, and he carried a demon. Actually, two of them, but one of them started to mess around on my farm, mess with people. And I just said, okay, actually I decided not to be on that density anymore where demons exist, but seeing what havoc this thing caused, I just stepped down into that density and decided to clear it. And it was a quite wise decision to do so, because that demon was attached to the topic of self-worth. And from all the pain he harvested from his host, he had built a beautiful weapon. And before I could take him out, he managed to punch my spleen with a weapon made out of this pain. And for 3 days, I just thought, okay, I've got this energetic problem here. I need to clean it. But then I realized, okay, now the spleen is inflamed. And now it's going bigger and bigger, coming to the limit what the organ can take, and burst open. So that was a really close call. But it forced me to deal with the topic of self-worth and devaluation on a deeper level, because the weapon was made out of that. And when I tried to clear the organ energetically, other topics related to the same emotions popped up. And I had to clear, 5 stories connected to self-worth and spleen that were sitting still as trauma in that organ. So yeah, I could say that was a battle, and this stupid demon almost managed to kill him. I might kind of pull myself out and say you should have seen the other guy. But actually, I can just be thankful that it happened, because it was an opportunity to learn something about myself and clear that. And now I know my spleen is invulnerable, because there's no resonance left. And like this, it's a win-win situation. Either there's no resonance, and then there's no battle, because they can't reach out to you anymore. And if they manage to find a resonance point, don't focus on the war aspect, focus on the learning aspect, on the experience aspect, and try to learn as much as possible about your own weaknesses, about your own vulnerability. Find the points that need healing, fix it. And there's no physical condition that doesn't get better if you heal the spiritual part.
Yes. I found it's in those wise words that were just shared. It's why protests don't work. It's why trying to change the laws don't work. It's why trying to change voting doesn't work. It's why they're arguing about the vaccines. I mean, with so many people saying we should do some action, sign this protest, or we should do some action, take a card and go downtown and tell the politicians to stop it. And you're missing the forest for the trees in that, the challenges are happening, as Harald said, so that you can find your own weakness where you're not in control of yourself, where you're not allowing yourself to heal, where you're leading yourself down a bad path, let's say. Everything you think the politicians or the people in the media are doing, chances are, in my opinion, you're doing it to yourself. And that's why you're seeing it on the outside world. And as long as you're trying to say they should change, and I'll have a better life, it's never going to make your life better, ever, because, the fingers got to come back and go, my goodness, I should change. And maybe they're showing you what needs to be healed, if they're lying or they're duplicitous or they're dangerous or they're unhealthy. And it's a good way to understand that maybe the world is just sharing with you how you're lying to yourself, how you're duplicitous, how you're unhealthy, how you're not being kind, how you're trying to trick people or take your living away or take your energy away, your money, your abundance, whatever you're blaming someone else for. Generally, if you bring it home to roost, you find you have the power to heal it. And thus, there are really no victims, in my opinion. There's only the abilities, to get strong.
The most beautiful cardboard I saw from demonstrations in the US was a lady carrying a sign, I think it was pushing a fake pandemic and creating mass awakening instead. And this is the beauty of it all. I'm not angry with them trying to make that move. I mean, this is what they went for all the time. This is their coronation. They are trying. And if they wouldn't try it, we would be sitting with them in one boat for the next 2,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So let them discredit themselves to the bone. It's beautiful. And for those people who want to be in that boat, I'm also happy because now they see what they get.
It's true. That's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it.
So free choice is all I can demand because I'm not judging. I can't say that the experience of being a biorobot is more or less beautiful than to be a creative, godly entity. This one is the one thing, the other thing is the other thing. I can't judge who goes for what experience. And if people go for the biorobot experience, wow, tough luck. My respect. I wouldn't have the courage to go for that. I've been going for quite heavy stuff in my incarnations. I've been quite at dark places. But being a biorobot that has this train of thoughts in his brain coming in from a central computer, telling him that it's right to slaughter people and to do all sorts of completely weird stuff, while his spirit is sitting on the bench beside him, like, oh, what the heck am I doing down there? This is what a biorobot is, being completely disconnected, following command lines, and all the people who sit in the buses and undergrounds, morphing themselves with the machine voluntarily. This is where they want to go. And this is, wow, what a tough program they're on. What a tough experience. And if this is what Source wants to experience as the highest grade of separation you can think of, and this is what Source wants to experience, and I can just pay my respect to the single beings that want to make that experience for Source, not judging. How?
It's relaxing. It doesn't change the horror in front of your eyes, when you watch people doing it.
No.
But I've noticed people have been wearing masks their whole lives. It's just more obvious now. Or people have been hiding from their truth. It's just more obvious now. I've been pretending for a long time to fit in, and it's just more obvious that I can't now. We've all grown up in that aspect where, as Harald said, you try and be a pleaser. In other words, you try and fit in with what people think you should be doing, and that'll bring the experience it brings until you decide that you want to do something else with your life. And it's here. I have to say, from what Harald sees, it is beautiful. I think it's a good way to put it. You can see, if you want to go on that boat, you're going with the monsters, and they're not hiding it anymore. And if that's the kind of life you want, good luck. You'll get the experience you're asking for. And as he said, it's wow. I can't even imagine how horrible, in my opinion, that's going to be for your heart, or your soul or your spiritual being. And you want to go on the other boat, it looks harder, but in the end, it'll be more loving and more beneficial, again, in my opinion. And it's great that we have free will to make that choice, or else, you can be as lousy as you want to be with your free will, or as free as you want to be with your free will. And I guess that's the beauty of free will. There's every option available. And I guess for us to be infinite beings, you have to have the ability to be infinitely stupid, as you do to be infinitely something else. I mean, it wouldn't work any other way. If everything is possible, by definition, everything is possible. Well, this is beautiful. Like, Harald, I've enjoyed this conversation more than I could have imagined. Thank you so much for taking time. Perhaps we're at a spot here to leave a lot of this, with our readers right now. I'm delighted to do more work with you, or to do more creations with you as possible, and as we both would love. This has been amazing for me. I'm certainly open to you sharing any of those writings with our readers, if you like. If you had mentioned, I believe, that you were, did you mention earlier you were doing some writing in relation to this? And if not, I'm totally open to seeing how our viewers can support you. I'll leave some information below from this video on what Harald shares with me once we get off the line, so to speak, and how you can do some more follow-throughs if you like and he likes. And we are certainly open to questions and suggestions here. Please leave them below, and we'll pass them along where they need to go. And let's be free together, and see how life develops. Is there anything you'd like to leave our readers with, or our viewers with, Harald?
Definitely, I will send you that one paper on covert narcissism and people pleaser codependencies. It's a longer one, as it looks like. I'm already at page 8 or something like that. So it's going to be more an essay than an article. And I can send my former company website as a link with all the older publications. Especially for people who just know me from YouTube. There's some paperwork I have done in the past that is more professional than the talks.
I would love to. I mean, for me, it's taking the deep dive that he's done in his life and other people have done, and it's bringing it back to a human level of what you can do, which gets asked over and over. So many people are going, look at what's going on, look at the craziness, look at whatever, from the parasites down to the politicians, over to the evil, or to the banking system, to the monetary system, all that distractive stuff. In my opinion, what can I do? What can I do? And in my opinion, that's been shared in this talk. What you can do, what anybody can do, without having even $1 in your pocket, or whatever, a yen or a euro, or a euro, or whatever you want to call your monetary system, or your crypto bonanza. All you really need to do is have a dedication in your heart to face yourself, grow with some metal, and to see where that takes you. And you don't need anyone's permission to do so. So for me, that's the best news ever, is if you want to be free and you want to do the work, there may be a million steps ahead of you, but now that, at least for some of us, there has been a path out of this nonsense. I'm not saying I'm free by any stretch of the imagination. I have to do the work every day. Every time I open my eyes, I face my own stupidity. If I'm not watching it, it jumps me. The monster Harald talks about follows me around all the time. The monsters of fear, the monsters of whatever, take your pick on what they maybe say to you about how you're not as loving or good as you would like to be. And it's a constant battle of awareness. I don't want to say battle, but let's say it's a constant effort of awareness. I like the way Harald put it. It's not really a battle. It's more like, you become aware of what it is you have to do and what you're facing, and then it allows you to intelligently do what is required for your life to make it how you would like to live. And I think that should be the whole of how you judge things, in my opinion. Thank you so much, Harald. I appreciate it. I'll leave the links below. Anything at all, let us know. If you have any topics for future conversations, I'm open to them as well. And again, thank you so much, Harald, for joining us. I very much appreciate this chat.
Can't make me lie to my heart. No one tells me where I should start. Freedom